Alright, good morning and welcome back to the Road to Better Chess, a game show where the points don't matter, or at the very least we try not to focus so much on our rating and a little bit more on getting something valuable from every game. So we're white, we're going to play d4. The previous game actually kind of then doesn't follow the correct philosophy of the series. We played against someone in the Alpine and they transformed it into a better French defense for us basically. And we played tricky, which I'm not especially proud of. I think I would prefer to play just solid and slowly win based on good principles. Alright, so we've got d4, c4, they have got knight f6 and a g6, so this could be a Grunfeld, it could be a King's Indian. I'm actually going to give them the option to decide which one it is. We did have the option of playing f3, which is the anti-Grunfeld lines as well, and that would then transpose into a same-ish King's Indian if we ended up playing against the King's Indian, which it seems we are. So let's go e4. Alright, and here... Oh, sorry, it's a bit hot. I can start making some decisions now. So we can just play something normal. We can play Averbach, 4 pawns, McGonagall. I actually just reviewed the McGonagall very recently. I just mentioned the same-ish as well. There is also just a fianchetto, which I've tried recently, and I think we're going to go for it today. A little bit less intense. We're not going to throw our kingside pawns and try to win that way. I actually think, yeah, I think I would prefer to play that way. So let's go ahead and get our G pawn up. We're going to fianchetto. We're going to put the knight out. Alright, our opponent castle still playing very quickly, but this is all still very, very basic opening theory for them. And now in this position, we can not move the pawn, or we could move the pawn. I think we're going to not move the pawn just yet. But the general idea is that if we do move the pawn, we want to make sure it kicks the knight. So as long as we're kicking a knight, we're happy to move the pawn. Otherwise, we're not so keen. And I think I'm going to wait for them to play their break with e5, because then when we kick, they do not have knight e5. Alright, so we're just going to develop our knight. So you can see here, this is defended, this is still defended. We're going to castle. Okay, coming out on the queen side potentially, also just covering the b5 square. The normal pattern I know is that if someone moves their pawn 1, you move 2. If they move 2 squares, you can move 1 square. What I don't like about this, obviously, is that it actually just gives a square away here. So I wonder if we'll actually just castle, and on the occasion of b5, this pawn won't be able to be protected with the knight while we're taking, because we could win a pawn on this side, but we would lose this pawn. We could also just ignore it. We do want to get ourselves safe from this long square, this long diagonal to Oxford bishop. So we have to be just a little bit careful about how we open up these squares here. Perhaps I will go a5. It's not my favorite, but it might be the best way to combat this situation. We could also play d5 now, obviously, because this knight will just be taken on this square. So then we just have a kind of transformed pawn structure, which could be good for us. There's also the option that if we play here, though, that they jump the knight over, and then we have to defend our pawn in some way, and that gets dangerous, because if we have to play b3, then the dark squares are completely open. So I don't think we want to move our pawn just yet. So I think it's just a5 or castle in this position, really. We could also just not. We could castle, they play up. We can take once. And in that case, actually, we could We could try and transform things a little bit more. We can take here, we can put our dark square bishop out. Might be a good idea to get that dark square bishop out anyway. So if we play here and they play their knight out, we still just have to cover these squares. Yeah, this is covered. This pawn would be loose though. So we'd have to take care of it, and then they could still jump in here, so I'm not a massive fan of that. I think we're just going to castle. Alright, we'll come back and see if there was a definite need to play a5 or d5. Yeah, here they come. Alright, so black's plan obviously now, they're not coming with the standard King's Indian attack on the king side. They're coming at our queen side, which is fair. It's a way to play. We don't have to defend this pawn with another pawn. We could also just play our king up, our queen up, take back if we need to. If they play across, we could always try and get our knight over somewhere else. We could even try getting here maybe. Actually, I see a good continuation where if we do this, we take with our knight, that defends the pawn here, and then we can take twice here. So I think actually this might be a good way to consider trying as well. In the event that they do not, well, no, they're actually going to lose their knight in that case. Here they have this square, and they're still attacking here. Take. So we can take everything on the. Yeah, I'm a little bit unsure where I want to put my dark square bishop, to be honest. I know this is a generally good square for it to be. We could also just sack that pawn if we thought there was some attack there, but I don't think so. The other thing we have to be aware of is that the large squares for us have opened up as well. So this might be a good time to take ones and then to push up here. So instead of d5, try to play e5. If they take, we can take, and we'd be slamming that knight twice actually with the rook behind it. So I actually think this might be good for us. So do we take once, or do we just leave it completely and play here? I think we take once and then we play here. Now this is going to get very, very tricky quickly. I just don't want to move basically these, so that even if I drop the b pawn, my rook won't be hanging. In that case, maybe not taking might be good because I don't open up the file. So we e5 right now. If they take, I take back. That guy has to move. And I can jump attacking the knight twice. But I need my dark square bishop actually. Taking with my knight actually might be good as well. That might be the better way to go. Obviously though, in this case, this pawn gets weak. But I always have that. So if they take once, I take with my knight. I'm hitting this knight, but it's also pinned to the rook. If they take here, I guess I take the rook first and say thank you very much. I'm going to lose a pawn or two for it, but a rook is a rook, right? Alright, I think we're going to go for it. So they're playing on the flank, we're playing in the center. As you can see, I have a lot to learn in the King's Indian defense. It's been one of the openings that I found the hardest to really make any sense of. It's been very frustrating. um, it's been a difficult opening to try and learn how to play against. So obviously if they jump their knight away, if they jump it here, I can kick it again. If they jump it here, then we can take twice because that pawn is a little bit more defended at least. And if they take, they just isolate their c pawn. And we are still looking down this diagonal. Oh, sorry, I wanted to say, anyone who watched the last video, I didn't realize how shaky the table was. It's kind of a fancy one that can like move up and down, but to that end it only has a single support in the middle, and it looks like it actually can wobble a little bit. So the last video I bumped the table a lot at the start, and yeah, it's pretty intense. Okay, they jump back. So now we have the option of taking here, and again if they take, we can take with our knight and just open things up. So I think it's pretty good for us. We might end up dropping a pawn or two in the center, but I think this is just going to be good for us long term. And yeah, and I don't want to break again, so I'm going to take. If they take, I take back with my knight. I'm also super happy to trade off their dark square bishop here. Then they have to defend that. I'll be coming in, I can do queen trades. Yes, I'm actually feeling very good about this position right now. So we're going to take this pawn to get out of the way. We don't need this knight to be defending anything right now. We can actually just win the pawn and then secure the knight actually. We could also come across, but I don't want to block up this diagonal right now. I'm looking forward to making use of it. So we can win this pawn, and that leaves our opponent with kind of a situation they have to solve. We can win the pawn and just drop back as well, by the way. If they, move their rook out of the way, we can just say thank you very much. And if they take, then very happy to take back. Over here, they have to trade off. And then they can win a pawn back in the middle here as well. Alternatively, I do like this idea of just solidifying the knight on this square. They have to move their knight to make anything happen. This might be good as well. Even here. Or we just jump our knight back right now. And we just unleash this situation. But I did want to have that happen after taking rather. Take here, they move their rook out of the way. Then we can put our queen over here as well. We can't hit the rook over there. Alright, we've got to move a little bit faster. This is getting a bit slow. So I think the options are really bring the bishop out, win the knight, win the pawn. Winning the pawn though, I see that I will just lose the middle pawns. I don't really know if that's great, but I guess they'll have an isolated one. So let's continue with the plan. We're going down significantly on time. Oh, I was expecting a different move. That's okay too, I guess. Okay, we can defend that. We can also sack it if we want to try some fanciness here. And then if they move their knight, I guess that's not so good for us. Is there any other way to defend it? We could walk into the pin. That doesn't feel right. This looks a bit better. That also hits the bishop, so it's a bit harder for them to come at it. And in that case, we would still be in some trouble. Maybe we've overplayed our hand a tiny bit here. Here it doesn't work because take, and then our rook hangs because it's not defended, unfortunately. Alright, my plan was to jump back, but I completely blanked that I'm actually dropping an exchange here. So I can defend it, they can attack it again with the queen, for instance. Here they take, I take, they take, I take. And I'm still losing an exchange. Oh, but I'm getting a second piece for it. But I only have so many ways to defend it, right? So any other counterattacks? I'd love to get my knight in here, so maybe dropping a pawn to defend the knight with the other one might be a way to go. Then obviously they can still attack me though. Oh, I can hit the queen. I'm also opening this up. Maybe I have to give a pawn now. Oh, and I'm so low on time. This is not good. The defense just doesn't seem to work though, unfortunately. I come up, they attack it. They've got a queen or a rook to defend it. Alright, so I think I'm actually just going to throw a swing in myself and then here. And then bring the rook out because whichever one they take, the other one can defend it. If they jump the knight back, I'm actually going to take because then I get an in-between move hitting their queen and I'll get 2 pieces for the rook, which would be fantastic. So yeah, a move like this I think is no good. That is what I expected. Now we can take there, but that's not really the plan. The plan was this. To defend twice, we're going to go get ahead. Defend that knight. And they can't, for instance, push. That doesn't really work out. I can take it. I can also hit here. But the knight is still hanging, so I gotta be careful. This doesn't work. They have to attack it with a piece. I'm hoping to buy myself a second just to move my rook out of the pin. That's really all this is doing. I gave a pawn with the hope that I could do that. Yeah. So now I can defend it. If they take, I take, and we're all good. I can defend it in the pin, but that seems absolute craziness. So I think I have to come up here. And they have no other way to attack these pieces just yet. Although they can move that, and then this man is still going to be in a problem situation. Now actually I do have this because I can retake with the knight. So this might actually be the better way to go first. Let's go up here. If they take, I can take with my knight. And I mean, I'd be happy to to have them take with the queen. Or to sack the rook. Both of those would be better for me. Alright, in here I can now hit their queen first, which seems very, very good. And I also have that square. So actually, I think this might have been a bit of a mistake for them. Yeah, I think we're going to hit the queen here. We can get a check in. I can still come defend a bit more. I can also just come defend immediately. But then it's going the other way as well. That's a bit dangerous. So here they take, I take, they take, I take, and then I actually have something taking back. Or I can jump forward. This is really going all out though. Where would the queen go in that case? This is a moot point, so this would be the only good move here. I could hit him again. Very interesting position actually. Let's go for it. So they've got very limited squares with their queen. Yeah, that doesn't work though, because I have this. Both of these knights are defended. Now I also have this, which hits the queen again. I can also take this pawn with check. If I hit the queen again, they have to move back here, I think. We could actually get a perpetual, although I don't think we're going to take it. We are here to play longer games, to learn, not just to get the perpetual. Um, yeah, I can win some stuff, but it doesn't really seem worth it. This is the move for them. It's the only good move they have. We could take with check and then come back. This pawn's gonna hang. Okay, that's really good for us. Boom. And they resign. Alright. Wasn't playing for tricks, but I don't think we played well in that opening. Clearly, I don't understand the King's Indian style. So actually, I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time here just trying to look at the analysis, the opening book, the engine a little bit. The engine is even not really it's not the point about what line would have been amazing with the engine. It's about what good moves I should have considered. So let's just go over the game before we look at anything else. So yeah, I did mention in this case they could play the Grunfeld d5. I actually reviewed two of my tournament games from last year recently, from the Tokai Open. It was FIDE rated, and both the second and fifth round were Grunfelds. I won the second round game, kind of with like a little bit of a trick. My opponent thought they had a strong attacking idea, but I actually had a really nice refutation. And the fifth game hasn't come out yet. I played against the strongest player at the tournament, I think. And he kind of taught me a bit about the sacrificial pawn line that black can play. You could also counter the Grunfeld in this position if you know your opponent likes to play it by playing f3. No, apologies, that would be f3 here. Sorry, here. Because then if they play, you can still take, but then you can play e4 directly, and there's nothing for them to take on c3. So the knight has to be jumped back, and you just have this whole structure, and then you can still play your knight out. So very often they end up playing their knight to b6, and it's just a little bit of a better position for white. Although black's not, losing out of the opening or anything, but it's not as good as the normal exchange. Anyway, they played the bishop off first, and now this is no longer a Grunfeld because we can play e4, and we're clamping down on that square. And for anyone who doesn't know, by the way, in this kind of situation, if you have a pawn here, if it's your move, it's almost always the right idea to take once, and then they take back with a pawn, and then to push the second pawn past. Almost always the best way to play is to take one so that you don't drop a pawn, and then to push your pawn past, creating clamping down at the position more and creating some more coverage for the squares around it. So in this case, if they had a pawn, say they had this pawn structure, in this specific case I might push first, but in general I would take once and then I would push, or I would take once and push depending on which side of the board I'm playing on. Because I'm white, because of the way I'm kind of structuring my game, I'm normally taking with the C pawn into the middle and then pushing the E pawn. But yeah, just a small thing to know, if you have that pattern, 3 pawns against 1 in like a V shape against you, take once and then push the second one past. Alright, so that's just standard moves, and here I get to choose what kind of King's Indian I want to play. I went for the fianchetto variation. The McGonigoff is here, the 4-pawn attack is here, the Averbach is here, whereas this is semi-Averbach. There's the classical. There's so many, right? And that's kind of the point. There's so many ways you play against the kid, but there's so many ways they can play back. So I went for the fianchetto. I decided a while back that if I'm struggling with different openings, I'm going to try and synergize my repertoire a little bit. So playing the fianchetto variation here is because I like to play the Catalan with white, and I like to play the fianchetto variation against the Dutch for the same reason. I end up with a pawn structure which is very similar a lot of the time. So I kind of know some of the ideas, even if I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do. Also, the fianchetto variation is just very safe for your king. For those of you who don't know, it's hard to attack into a fianchetto versus a flat pawn structure because the fianchetto cuts off some of your diagonal attacks maybe, and it also provides further strengthening of the king with the bishop itself. Not to say you can't attack against the fianchetto at all, but normally like a pawn storm doesn't work against the fianchetto quite as well, always. Alright, so here this I think is like the pano variation. Um, and yeah, you don't want to push the pawn unless it kicks a knight, but also there's no need to push the pawn yet. It's not like the knight's doing anything. I would be happy to wait for them to play e5 first and then I push, because then they do not have knight e5. Ooh, knight e5. Alright, so just my knight out. I could have played it here, but there's no reason. It's better to have better control of the center with my knights. And here we can see they're coming on the side, and I castled, but a5 is kind of one of the standard ways to go. I just wasn't sure what I'm supposed to do after the knight jump, although actually looking at it now, I think I could have probably played my queen out to e2, and if they jump in here, I could actually just hit it. Hit the... Oh no, I can't because I haven't castled yet. Ugh. Alright, let's have a look at this quickly. So, a5, knight a4, knight a5. This can't be losing. There's no way this is losing just yet. I guess the point is that you just have to move your rook behind. So wherever I put my queen to defend this pawn, because, you know, there's no way I want to play this. Although if I haven't played this, it's still possible, I guess. So here, 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 here. So my pawn structure is this way. And my queen is defending the backwards pawn. The knight's sitting over here. What I don't like about that is that I've completely opened up this diagonal on my side. But the only way they can really make advantage of that is playing c5. And I don't have to move my pawn. I could actually just move my rook, and after they take back with my knight or my queen. So maybe that's the way I should have gone. We'll look at that in a second. This would be an opening book point. You know, I don't really need to know what the engine says. I just want to know what is the good move kind of option range that I have in this position. So I castle, they did break, and I decided that I can counter break in the center. This has now taken a lot of my time. I'm trying to calculate variations where I actually end up with a very, very strong light square bishop, so the Catalan bishop or the fianchetto attacks bishop on this diagonal. The danger for them is that if they take once, I take with a knight, and I'm double attacking that knight there. And if they push their pawn, I can still take the knight because it hits the queen, and then I could take this pawn. And I'm also hitting the rook, so that would be really, really bad. We can look at the engine a bit for this. Back, yeah, I did consider they might go here as well, but I suppose this might feel a bit scary because I might be able to trap their knight on that side of the board. So yeah, back is also a move you sometimes play kings in it anyway because you want to play with f-pawn up. So it's not like it's a crazy move or no one's ever played it. And you do leave your light square bishop open in case you want to move it around. Alright, and here I decided to take once. Actually, I don't think I should have taken this pawn. Maybe, well, maybe I should have actually just brought my dark square bishop out at this point. Or back here, a5. Or just here, bishop out. Sack the pawn. I mean, I'm expecting I'm going to be able to take it back, right? So if I play the bishop out, they take the pawn. I can play my queen out, which hits the knight and the pawn. I can take it back. Not too fussy with that. And then I still have options of potentially playing e5 with my knight later. So maybe not defending the pawn at all even was fine. If I play my bishop up and they pushed, then I'm actually dropping a pawn here. That's kind of not good. I wonder in that case if, well, no, because I don't want them to take like this because it could be really, really... They have like a path of taking within the pawn. Maybe in this case I'm just supposed to play a3. They take, I bring my queen out, hitting the knight and the pawn. All my other pawns are protected by my knight still. They've opened up the B file, they've given me the C file. I'm very happy to play down the C file in these kind of positions, but the B file for them will be pretty good because they are trying to come at the queen side. So we'll look at this again a bit. This might have to be an engine line because it might not be kind of real theory anymore. But anyways, I tried to attack in the center instead. I think good of them not to take. And here I thought I could take the pawn twice. I blanked completely on this diagonal, which is a very standard one. There's very many like variations and openings where black can bring out their light square bishop on this diagonal to hit the rook specifically. Sometimes you just move the rook and it doesn't matter, but I've also lost against a really strong CM from France, specifically with the light square bishop on this diagonal in a cat lab. Alright, so I took the pawn and I went oopsie daisy, and here I thought, okay, so I think I played this okay at least, although it was probably just a draw at best. I can't defend this because my rook is hanging in the corner because I haven't finished development. If I defend it with my queen, they can attack it again, and my queen is in the way of helping the pawn defend. If I go this way, then they're just coming at me in so many terrible ways. If I go this way, they can also hit me. So maybe they come over. So queen, queen. Then I have to defend again here. And my rook would still be hanging. If they take, rook hanging, and then I can take this. So I would be, what? In that case, we both lose a knight. I lose a rook, they lose a, yeah, so I'm still down in exchange. So I decided to play d5, which hits their knight, closes up my amazing plan, unfortunately. But importantly, it gives me this square to defend the knight, which is what I need to do. I need to have these knights helping each other out, and also importantly, d5 stops their c-pawn from hitting any of these knights, because I can always take with the pawn, or I can even use the square for my knight, which I ended up doing. So here they attack with the queen. I wonder if attacking with the rook would have been better. Oh, I guess I would have been able to pick up the exchange that way, so maybe it wouldn't have been better, huh? Yeah, like if they move the rook over here, I can hit the rook and the queen. They have to move the queen. They can't move it here because then I just get what I ended up getting. So they'd have to move here, give me that. Yeah, that would actually be terrible, terrible. No bad. Alright, so it was a queen attack. Now I can defend with the pawn because I have two defenders, so I don't open up the a-file against my rook yet. And after they play back, they're opening up here. So probably here, yeah, I don't think I get to do anything else. The problem is that if my knight moves, that my rook in the back is hanging, so I lose an exchange. If I take back with my queen and they do this, I'm still losing the rook in the corner. If I come back like this was probably the only way I could have gone about it. So if I played, where's this, bishop e3, if they take the front one, I just take back and I lose a pawn, but I don't really care about it. I can even like open up a potential attack against their queen. So if they take the back one, I take back. Then they take here, I take. Maybe they take here as well. Then I'm actually just losing a pawn. Although in that case I'm still down a pawn and I have two isolated pawns. But that is dangerous for them to give up their fianchettoed bishop around their king. What am I saying? Because they have to be careful I don't find an attack. So I went for kind of a little bit tricky play here. In this case, so there's only two squares that the queen can, actually that's not a square can go. There's only one square the queen can go that's safe. First they gave me a tempo with the bishop. I'm really happy they obviously missed this. And here, this is the only safe square. Now I can actually just force a repetition. Here, queen back, here, and then queen forward. And then it's just a repetition, but I don't think I would have gone for it, to be honest. If they played back into this position again, I was wondering if there's some way I could make use of that square, but didn't really look like it. Oh yeah, I was looking at this briefly like this, but it doesn't really help that much. And then I hit the queen, my rook's still hanging. I can get this with check, but after that there's nothing because There's no way for me to get at the king. I did consider just taking the pawn immediately anyway with check, and then bringing my knight back at some point maybe. And they could take... I would still be down a pawn, right? Because they could take the b pawn. Who is this now? Give me 1 second. Oh, apologies, deliveries. Alright, but in on phase, my opponent just kind of fell for the fork. They didn't see it, and here I'm forking the queen and king. So I get to win, but clearly I have to learn something about this. So let's jump into the analysis now. Actually, before we do, let me just pick up this package from the door. Alright, so let's jump into the analysis here. So I want to look at the opening book a little bit. I'll run the analysis in the background as well. Let's have a look here. Queen's Indian. This F3 line is what I was talking about. Andy Grunfeld Alekhine. Alekhine. I'm too Western. Alright, E6, and here I get many choices. F3, E2, knight F3, E2, F3, H3, F4, bishop D3, knight G, bishop G5. There's so many options, and top level scores pretty well for white, but yeah, okay, so I went for the fianchetto variation. So here is deferred fianchetto, means you could have played a faster fianchetto as well. Anyway, they castle, bishop G2, and here E5, C5, these are the normal breaks. Knight C6 is one of the other main moves. Knight BD7 is also fine, C6, I6. Again, so many options. So I'm trying to look for ideas because there's just too many lines to learn in the King's Indian. Alright, so they went up, and here, oh, Knight GE2 is the best, or is the most popular. Let's have a look at this quickly. Let's just say they do what they did anyway. Castle. Okay, no one plays b5 in this position, I guess. Oh, because this pawn is... Ah, I see. So this pawn is protected, right? So if they play b5 now, I just go, thank you for the pawn. So e-pawn's not hanging, so I don't have to care about it. Okay, so they would prepare it more. I would defend and get off the long diagonal, I guess. And then knight a5, triple hitting this pawn. Goodness me, and just queen up to defend everything. Take, bishop up. You're really just hammering on that square there. b4, knight takes, knight g, h3. Everything is hanging in this position. Very interesting. You're not going to take with your queen in that position because what? Oh, I can hit in here and then I just win so much time on you as well, huh? f4. Wow, okay, super interesting stuff. But yeah, not really what I was looking at. Alright, so knight GE2, just to avoid that whole plan. So this might actually just be because that A6 plan is part of like a standard for black. So let's just continue with what I did. Now A6, castle, and no one plays B5 directly, unfortunately. Rook B8 again, E5, okay. So this is where master database stops, and apparently it is better for white. So you can see here I was doing better, although I threw the advantage away. And it seems that I was doing better even in a position where it felt like I was just losing a piece or an exchange. Um, let's just go into top lead chess and see what everyone else does here. So castle and then b5. Yeah, b5 do have a few games in it. CXB E5. So E5 is something that someone played, but it actually doesn't score best. Just taking and then E5 or D5. Okay, so you can choose which ones. Let's say D5 first, maybe. Knight over, trade the knights. Yes, I was looking at this. And not taking the pawn, because then bishop A5, yeah, and then this is just a disaster. Queen up. Yeah, this is not great. You're going to lose the exchange. So bishop E3 here, just connecting everything. B4, knight A coming into that square. Knight G, picking up the pawn anyway. Very interesting stuff. Oh man, okay. Alright, let's see you go with e5, which is what we did, just a little bit of a different move order. 98 is what they played, but obviously if you take here, I take with my knight, yeah, and this is the plan, because I'm hitting everything. I'm hitting your knight, I'm hitting your rook here, and this is just, it's a double attack. Things aren't going to be looking so good for you. F3, now I'm hitting both of your minor pieces. Oh no. Okay, and this person decides to take, and obviously this is very dangerous because you can take in a row. Take there, take that. Oh my goodness, yeah, okay, this is just crashing for white. Um, they, however, played 98, which does feel like a good move, and indeed it looks like it scored well for black. And here, let's just see the position. It's still okay for white, you're still doing fine. Let's say you take the pawn, bishop a6, a4, you can't defend your... so this was the point, yeah, I saw a variation of this, but I didn't actually see the specific one. Coming out here, they do bring out their bishop a lot on this diagonal. You can see the double attacking, so you have to be careful. You have to move your queen back. Okay. Interesting stuff. Okay. So I didn't really click that the knight was also hanging and I would get 2 minus for the rook, but it's still a bit of a dicey situation. In this kind of line, yeah, now it's slightly better for black. Fair enough. Okay, but we played e5 directly, which is not what most people do. E5 directly, and oh yeah, dx e5, not a good move. Knight x, and I think, yeah, this is just really, really good for white. Yeah, so correctly, you don't take here, 98. This is still our game, and this is good for us, but we have to play. We have to play e6. E6. Alright, I can see one thing, which is if you take, then you can jump your knight, open up the bishop, and hit whatever's on that square at the same time. Yeah, like, so what if they ignore it? Hitting the knight, also this pawn. What if they take it? Then you fork. Still hitting the knight. You're going to win it back because the bishop's overworked. Yeah, and you've also won an exchange. Oh, wow. Okay, so I really did not consider the fact that I could play e5, e6. How would I go about doing this next time? E6. Maybe a way to think about it is I have a threat immediately, but it's countered by the light square bishop. But the light square bishop's also taking care of this square, so whatever I do here, whatever way they take, I'd probably be able to make this light square bishop get overworked, because I'm going to unleash this attack with my knight jumping, hitting that square at the same time. And that square, okay, I shouldn't have to think about that too hard. That's a dangerous square to have a knight on your opponent's side, right? If they take, I can unleash. If they push past, okay, so if they push past, it's not a tactical win, it is a kind of positional win where I have a pawn that you could be taking. I can defend it immediately. This pawn is just very dangerous for black. stopping their pawns from moving much, giving my knight some options to be jumping around. Okay, so in the future, when we have a chance to push a pawn into our opponent, I normally only do this if I can put the pawn there in a hole already. Then I know I want to push this pawn there and keep it there and restrict your position. But I didn't even consider the fact that I could push, and no matter what you do, the position is kind of okay for me with threats. I didn't consider that at all. Okay, so learning for us about that a little bit. Pushing pawns into your... So I pushed the knight back, and I should have continued. Okay, but I threw the advantage away, unfortunately, and this is where the graph starts to dip. Took the pawn, which apparently wasn't a mistake. And here I'm supposed to drop the exchange, and it's still okay for me. Yeah, because I still have that. So, I mean, if you win the pawn, no, I just win the exchange as well. Yeah, it's a move. I wasn't too excited about that. I guess in this position, the point would be that I get to grab an exchange as well, most likely. Or you have to give me some other kind of concession. But I wouldn't want to play in this position, into this position, if I knew it was coming. I would have avoided taking the pawn. Yeah, not taking the pawn is not one of the best moves here. Darks for bishop, opening up the knight. Okay, so take d5, which I thought was a have to. So here they could have done this. This is actually just worse for me. They could win that pawn. Okay, so this was actually just a poor plan. I thought this plan would work as it did, where our opponent moves their knight first, and I get to protect our knight with the other one. But yeah, clearly, actually, the fact that they can just pick up that pawn and then this pawn and the exchange. Oh, sorry, not the pawn. They can pick up the knight and the exchange. Is clearly just very good. Okay, so bad calculation, and our opponent kind of fell for the what turned out to be a trick. Alright, so yeah, we did defend. Oh, now actually it's better for us. If they did do this, I was gonna just take en passant, I think, yeah. Okay, now they attack the knight again. Yeah, this whole situation is very messy. I'm not gonna worry too much about trying to learn any amazing lines here. The opening already kind of went incorrectly for us. So queen b was not best. Defending was not best? What? No, defending is best. Okay, it's just the evaluation swinging. Alright, knight back. Here. So this is probably how the game should have continued. I mean, there's still a lot to play for here. I want to say I'm doing slightly better, but not so clear. Not so clear. With a few active moves, black looks like they could be doing some damage as well. Although the engine just say we do a bit better. But our opponent didn't actually give us the chance to do that. I was going to take the pawn with check because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to repeat. But they actually just walked straight into a fork. This is something that happens sometimes because there's a lot of action happening on this side, right? And Normally there's no like direct attack on a lot of these pawns. These pieces haven't moved, so everything should be defended. But actually your queen was doing a duty here on the e7 pawn. And because you don't have a knight here defending it. So this is just kind of, because it's a bit of an abnormal position, I think our opponent just kind of fluffed it by accident. Alright, so happy to take the point, obviously, but I think main lesson here. Oh, also we wanted to look at a5 in this position. Yeah, a5 not best. Let's see if anyone else played a5. Oh, a4, what am I saying? a4 very good on the top lead chess, only 3 games though. Yeah, and no one played what the engine just recommended to us briefly. Probably they would have done this, I'm guessing. I would have really liked a castle. Maybe they broke with their b5 then. b5. Takes. Okay, this person actually hung their middle pawn. Ooh, I'm not liking this. Hitting that pawn, hitting the knight. Yeah, this is looking kind of tricky. Interesting. Again, that e pawn looking weak. Alright. So if I was going to play this position again, in this first position actually, instead of e4, you can play g3 directly. Castle, bishop g2, d6, knight f3, knight c6, castle. This is the fianchetto Carlsbad. A6 is the main move here. H3 is the main move. Okay, because you're intending to play this, you don't want the bishop to come there. What if I just play b5 directly? Because this is kind of what our opponent did. No one plays b5 directly. Oh, there's nothing to take here, so why would you? Yeah, so rook b8. Now e4, b5, e5 main move. Oh, now there's nothing on the diagonal as such. Isn't this just a massive loss though? Oh no, because there's nothing behind it. Take. Knight over. Again this move e6. Doubling up some pawns there. Bishop out. Knight over. Wow, okay. I mean, in this position, I'd be fairly happy to be white. This just looks kind of trash versus having these guys connected here. Okay, so you can go g3 directly, develop kind of the same way. h3, if I don't do h3, can I do something else? Bishop f4, queen d3, rook e1, e4. Okay, a3 clearly is the main move here. Alternatively, in this position, castle, bishop g2, e5. Then I have to play knight ge2 to avoid this pawn becoming unprotected after they do this a6 plan. Castle. Yeah, so here b5, and you're hanging a pawn. But again, e5 first, because you have nothing stopping this monster bishop. Okay, yeah, so that's just a massive fail. f4, that seems very fun. Let's look top lead chess a little bit. a4 in this position, a3, f4. Wow, okay, so here, f4, h3, and a4. h3 is constantly a good move just to stop that light square bishop from having a good square. a4 is kind of the move that we looked at. Knight f5 is what I did. I wasn't too excited about this position. Interesting how queen e2 scores better. Yeah, now that move, and now this is protected in the back. f4, super fun. e5, takes, 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 takes. Knight g, knight c6, takes here, takes the e pawn check first. It's looking a little bit similar, doesn't it? Now it takes the middle pawn, light square bishop. Alright, I mean this is pretty equal. We're actually down a pawn, but we're up a piece. What am I saying? Look at that, we're up a piece. Uh, is this just crushing already, actually? F4. After F4, you have to play E5. If you don't, we're just attacking too many things at once. That's kind of the problem. So they sack. Yeah, 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 yeah. So you have to, after F4, you have to play E5. Then we can take once. Oh yeah, and this is the story I spoke about, right? So in this position, where you have three pawns against kind of a triangle, you take the pawn once, and then you push past, just depending on your pawn structure and what you're playing with. This would be the move, yeah. Knight A, C5. Oh, I'm loving this. Oh my goodness. I definitely think I would consider playing this in the future. This seems really fun. Knight E, bishop up, queen X. Over, you're going to get some action against the queen here. Oh, this is very fun. Okay, how do we get into this position? Um, G2 is the move that we need to understand. Castle. They have to use their rook because now the other pawn isn't hanging. And is this? This is where we had F4. So let's just look at the top level F4. Knight A5 gets out of that situation. Still pushes. Bishop up. Knight over. Oh, I should really consider this F4 plan in the future. This looks really fun. So fianchetto, and then knight G2, very important. Castle, and then just F4 right here with this really, really nice E5 threat. And if they combat it correctly, you take and you push past, and you just get this kind of mid-structure situation. Very fun. Here, it's not really what I would have played myself, but I guess that's what you do. It's actually better for black. So I'm not the biggest fan of all of this. You actually have to push the knights away to this square first. Okay, you can't take. Just develop something. Undevelop something. Okay, let's see you take. I'm just making some moves. So now I'm gonna take and your knight's gonna fall, so yeah. Okay, I think we found something fun. So let's look over at the King's Indian defense. Quickly, King's Indian defense. And this was in the fianchetto variation. So I have this down. Yeah, this is a Catalan opening basically, right? Okay, whoa. Yeah, you see me trying to just kind of point out there's a lot going on. I'm gonna castle and A6. The Pano variation. A6. E5. Oh, but hang on. Um, so here, not knight up E4. E4, knight C. Okay, E4, knight C. We're gonna kind of go for this idea. Okay, E5 is the main move, in which case you still play knight G. Knight C. Hit the knight. Castle. C5. Snap it off. Snap it off. Alright. And if they don't play, if they play into it the normal way, knight G2, they still have to play E5. E5 is still the main move. We kind of transposed what we just saw, but if they play A6 anyway, they can't play that yet because this is defended. Rook over, and here F4 is just really, really fun. Okay, I'm going to keep that in mind for next time. Alright, this turned into a long one, but there was a lot to look at and learn a little bit about. Going back into our game then finally, we found that there's a different way. So this is not the correct fianchetto variation. You have to play just G3 directly. But in this position, we want to play knight g2, which is something we know now, because then after they play on the queen side, it doesn't matter. This pawn is defended, so we could actually take, so that's a bad move for them. And if they did, so let's say they continue with that plan, now they can't do it without the rook. And here, f4, man, f4 really fun, and they have to play e5. In which case we take once we push past. I think I would play this position a bit differently from what the engine and the theory suggests. I would probably want to keep these pawns together to some degree. Although, what if you just take fianchetto here? Now it's apparently terrible. It does seem really fun. So you're supposed to like push this knight into this position. Very, very interesting stuff. Alright, I think that's going to be it. Thank you very much for joining. As always, take care and keep on improving. See you around. Ciao, ciao.